Human trafficking is an unfortunate reality that exists across India every day. Through the horror of some of these stories emerges heroes in the every city who take a stand to take care of the most poor and downtrodden. India Ware talks with Mr. Amod Kant of Prayas to understand the rapidly changing scenario in India with regard to human trafficking.
No, my name is Amod Kant and I was a policeman. I started my career as an IPS officer, 1974. And of course, I went up to the level of DG Police, Arunachal Pradesh and Goa. In Delhi Police, I remained Joint Commissioner of Police. And I took over as the first chairman of Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights. And in that capacity, I worked heavily with the children because I was already working with children for a long time. You know that this organization, which is known as Prayas JSC Society, this I created in 1988, exactly 30 years back. And then I was Deputy Commissioner of Police in Delhi. As DCP Crime of Delhi, I was in the midst of huge investigations and violence and riots and whatnot. But then there was a very small issue. A lot of children in the city of Delhi were lost and found. And they were missing children, thousands of them. And there was no way to really keep them together when they were found by the police. Because the government homes were unsuitable, the children didn't like to go there. So we decided to set up an organization to look after these kind of children. About the same time, there was a big fire in a slum area of Jahangirpuri, and that became an opportunity. So gradually I associated Delhi Police, Delhi School of Social Work and Shramik Vidyapeeth, which was an organization for literacy and skill development. And Prayas was born 30 years back. Slowly and gradually the organization kept on responding to the needs of the people depending on the problems in society. India itself is a country where 50% of population happens to be almost near poverty. So ours kind of organizations are needed. So Prayas went on and on and on, 30 years, and today there are over 246 centers in the organization.
Great.
We are working in 9 states of India, Delhi, Gujarat, Assam, Andaman Nicobar Islands, Haryana, Jharkhand, Rajasthan. All these states we work, and we have nearly 817 full-time professionals, maybe 200 to 300 volunteers, many from abroad. They come to serve in the organization. So nearly 1,000 people work for the organization.
Yeah.
And these 247 centers, they are visited by nearly 40,000 people every day. So this organization, I don't think is so big, but then many people think it's a big organization. And perhaps it's for that reason that Niti Aayog, which is India's think tank, the national think tank, headed by the Prime Minister of India, that body has recently created a standing committee, which is called a Standing Committee of Civil Society Organizations. And I am the member secretary because of Prayas. So Prayas is considered to be one of the larger organizations. Most of the work of Prayas are serving the needs of people. For example, we are running 47 homes and shelters. Homes for the homeless children, trafficked children, missing children, destitute children, and also for the adults and women. We are also running crisis intervention centers for those who are sexually exploited and abused. We are the ones who started the Child Helpline 1098, which has become a national level program now. So Prayas has grown far and wide, but we are very small, considering the fact that this country has nearly 3 crore children who don't get food, who are on the streets and they are not going to schools. Likewise, nearly 40% of India's population happens to be near poverty lines. So we have a cause, we have a reason to serve. We also get into disaster areas, like we work in Gujarat, we work in Andamans, we worked in Bihar in floods. Recently, I was and I am giving a lot of time to Kashmir, trying to associate voluntary organizations and the youth of Kashmir to come in the mainstream. So these are the kind of activities we do.
Yeah.
See, the human trafficking, let me clarify. Human trafficking or the trafficking of persons, or begar as we call it. These are begar is forced labor, you know. So these are the kind of things which are mentioned in the Constitution of India. So 1950, our creators of the Constitution, our outstanding leaders who formulated the Constitution of India, thought that trafficking should be a crime. But unfortunately, that crime did not take a shape. It was not defined properly, human trafficking, till 2013. 2013, following Nirbhaya's case, there was a change in law which called Criminal Law Amendment Act. Under Criminal Law Amendment Act 370 Indian Penal Code, that defined human trafficking. Prior to that, human trafficking was not the complete form of human trafficking, because human trafficking means that sale and purchase of human bodies for any kind of cost or price, for any kind of coercion or force. If somebody is made to work, if somebody is made to do something, if somebody is made to travel and migrate from one place to other place without his consent, without his interest being served, without his happiness, and if he is forced to do so, okay, then that becomes some kind of human trafficking of human beings. That means his person becomes a body, and that body becomes a property, and that property is being sold. All prostitute, the term we don't want to use, so we use commercial sex workers, and that is where the law is there, the present law, Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1986. And what happens unfortunately is that in majority of cases, the woman who sells her body, she becomes the accused also. So the victim is getting victimized. So that is the position. That is why we had been demanding a new law. And the new law which is now coming through, this happens to be not only about commercial sex, it happens to be about child labor, who are being sold out to work. It happens to be about forced labor. It happens to be about organ trade, when the body parts are sold. It also happens to be about surrogacy, when some woman out of compulsion for money sells her womb and produces a child to be sold out. So these are all the processes, these are all the conditions under which the human trafficking is carried out, and we are anxiously waiting for the time when the law is cleared. So far as Prayas is concerned, Prayas is an organization which has worked to protect the child labor and the forced labor and the forced marriages. These kind of things we have worked for decades and decades. Ever since Prayas was created, we have been working in these areas. So Prayas becomes one of the leading organizations for practically dealing with the issues and the cases relating to human trafficking. Thousands and thousands of children, thousands of women and girls are being protected by Prayas. And that is why we have been running so many homes. The shelters and homes are primarily inhabited by these kind of children, these kind of girls and women. So this is broadly about the human trafficking, which is a very, very serious crime. It is believed that human trafficking is one of the worst forms of organized crimes in the world. Apart from the trafficking of arms, that is guns and explosives and all that stuff, apart from the trafficking of drugs, which is very, very serious, the human trafficking is considered to be one of the largest organized crimes in the world. Perhaps $16 billion is the quantum wherein it is being used. Okay.
Yeah. Sir, when we see like there is lots of laws, as you told us in the, in our constitution, but what is the problem here? There is a fault in implementation or like on the other processes.
Well, that's a fact. It's a fact that the creation of laws is not enough. For example, most likely very soon I would be appearing in the Supreme Court of India in respect of these cases which are happening about these shelter homes. These homes and shelters where there's a lot of wrong things that are happening, and Supreme Court of India has taken cognizance. There some suggestions are being made, and I am making a suggestion that it's a failure of system. Most of these situations are failure of system because the laws are not being implemented. Today, India has the best laws in the world. We have got Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act, which is one of the best laws in the world. We have got POCSO, Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences Act, we have got the Right to Free and Compulsory Education Act. We have got Commission for Protection of Child Rights Act, and we have got now getting this Human Trafficking Act, which is now a bill. So there is no dearth of laws for social legislations, but their implementation becomes a huge issue. So we really should look forward to a time when these laws are implemented in the interest of victims.
So what we can say, like in the society, is it a fault for policemen or like the administration?
Well, the police being the law enforcement agency, the police being primarily responsible for the enforcement of all types of criminal laws, and of course these social laws also which have the criminal component in it, it is the responsibility of police. For a very long time, the Indian police was not aware, or Indian police was not conscious, was not enthusiastic, I would say, about these laws. But now slowly and gradually change is coming. I find a lot of changes. Tomorrow itself I am going to Rajasthan, and there is a very important meeting taking place being organized by the anti-human trafficking units of Rajasthan.
Okay.
And there are a lot of other people also coming. These kind of programs are being held by the police everywhere. So the situation is changing, I must say. Let's hope it changes for better.
Okay. Sir, just tell us, like, where should people go in the case of such incidents come to their knowledge?
Well, so far as children are concerned, I would very strongly suggest Childline.
Okay.
1098. It's a toll-free number. When you call 1098, it rings. You can give the information about a hardcore crime. You can talk about a child being victimized. You can talk about a child being trafficked, and they will act. The police 100 or any other police line, you can definitely inform them. And then there are many agencies now who are there in the government who are supposed to work in these areas. So the citizens who are conscious, those who are willing to participate, they should come forward and participate. Okay.
Yeah. Sir, what are the preventive measures of human trafficking?
See, the best prevention is action. The best prevention is that whenever you come across these situations, like for example, in the households, millions of young girls who are very young, less than 18 years of age, they are working as domestic help. They are being exploited. Around you there are huge number of placement agents, unscrupulous agents who are using these girls and exploiting them also. Likewise, you find so many industries, so many business, so many activities where these children are being exploited as child labor. You can really prevent them by sheer action. You can inform someone, you can participate yourself. So there are opportunities. The awareness of laws is another very important thing. If you talk about these laws as I am talking today, what all happens to be crime, people would know about it. Perhaps they will take care and they will try not to do it. And of course, the overt action in schools and institutions, in colleges, in various other situations, in various meetings like resident welfare associations, like panchayats, like municipal meetings and bodies, like parliament, like assembly, everywhere these issues should be talked about. Media has to be very conscious. Electronic media and print media, both of them have to play the most significant role. Unfortunately, media is sensationalizing things more than perhaps sensitizing people. Sensitization is far more important than sensationalizing. You understand the difference?
Yes.
So I would like the media which doesn't really make a story and TRP. The media should be able to do something to bring about the change.
Yes.
Make people aware and try to do it.
Okay, sir, we just want to know, like, what happens after a victim has been rescued?
The victims rescue is normally done by, let's say, Labour Department, Child Welfare or Child Protection Department. The police has to be a party to it, the child welfare committees have to be party to it, and some voluntary organization.
Okay.
If there is a voluntary organization running the homes, the country has nearly 9,000 homes and shelters for children. So there are homes and shelters all across the country. These children who are rescued have to be taken to some home. If the girls are there who happen to be trafficking victims, there are homes for girls also, the government homes and the NGO run homes. So they have to go there. And the process, everybody has a role to play. The police, besides investigation, has to give security and safety, ensure prosecution and conviction. The Labour Department has to ensure that the victims and their family get money. The compensation can be up to rupees 2 to 3 lakhs. The Women and Child Development Department should ensure that they are protected properly, they are rehabilitated properly. The Education Department should ensure that they go to schools and they get the benefit of Right to Free and Compulsory Education Act. Likewise, everybody has a role to play. No, see, there are always aberrations and contradictions in society. Society is a mix of good and bad. Society is a mix of positive and negative. Society is a mix of lot of things which are the best to happen. Everything is within society. So let us not make society a kind of place where wrong things go only. Now the issue is that ultimately it's the job of society. Even the family is part of society. Even institutions are part of society. So, well, let us take a positive view. That's all I can say.